Today I'm going to be doing my first ever of what I'm going to call Tentpole jams. Now, these are going to be very important for this channel because essentially what they are is regular progress reports of where I am musically at that time. I'll be jamming over the same backing track every time, and I will be going into it completely cold. I'll only have looked at it and figured out the chord changes and the key signatures so I know what I'm doing, but I wouldn't have had any run-throughs, any practice runs, anything like that. So it's going to be very harsh, it's going to be very raw, but that's the whole point because it's meant to show where I am at that time, how much I've improved since the last one, what techniques I might be using now that I wasn't before, or anything like that. For this jam, I'm just going to be using my Telecaster, and I'll be running into my pedal board with my settings as they normally are, which I outlined in my previous gear rundown video. And for any pedals that I might kick on or kick off or anything during the jam, I'll just annotate it to give you an idea of what's going on. And for the backing track, I just grabbed one of the numerous ones the awesome guys on the Andersons channel have made. So I'll put a link in the description below and you guys can find the rest of the jams on their Bandcamp. But yeah, let's get into it. So just before moving on, when it comes to analyzing my playing in general or in this solo in particular or anything like that, I'm going to be entirely objective because the overall goal here is my improvement as a musician. So I'm going to ask you guys to be the same. And if you see anything that you figure is somewhere I can improve, if you have any advice or tips or tricks or anything like that, please let me know because it is greatly, greatly appreciated. All right, so overall, I think if this jam was to be summarized in a single word, it would be messy. If it felt like I was trying to figure out what was going on or sort of guessing the entire time, that's because I was. Which is strange because I'd gone through and I had noted down the changes and the key beforehand. It felt tough to sort of get on top of it, if that makes sense, to kind of get out in front of the jam instead of just sort of reacting and guessing to what was going on. And I know I said at the start of the video that I'd go through and I'd break it all down in specifics, but I don't think there's anything actually worth breaking down. So instead, I'm just going to use this as an opportunity to analyze my playing in general, my improvising, and just kind of use it as a springboard to move forward. So something I'm already aware of with my improvising that I need to improve on is my phrasing. I need to work on making my lines a lot more melodic, a lot more memorable, instead of the sort of guesswork that makes up a lot of what I do at the moment. I also definitely need to introduce a lot more variation to my playing, whether that be new ideas, using more of the neck, using more low notes, high notes, anything like that, because what I've noticed that I do is I tend to sort of just noodle around and bounce around until I find something that sounds good, that sounds safe, which is entirely an accident. And then I tend to just stick on that or come back to it, sort of bounce around, also guessing. And then when it comes back for a moment when I feel the need, I'll jump back to what I know sounds safe. And I think this highlights the biggest area for me to improve on in general and overall, which is just being more in control of what's going on with my improvising. Instead of just kind of guessing and hoping that what I'm doing sounds good. Because at the moment, regardless of what work I do to become familiar with the track, whether it's noting down the chord changes, the key, anything like that, I'm always guessing. I'm never out in front. I'm never expressing what I want to be. It's always just sort of a guess, if that makes sense. Also, as just another quick note, I think in general I tend to be a bit of a ballady guitar player, playing long notes, sort of smooth notes and slower sections, and I definitely need to introduce more note variation and value variation, so 8th notes, 16th notes, a bit of triplets to kind of like change up the feel. But to be honest, that probably just comes from the guesswork again. I'm not going to go and attack a fast passage or a fast lick or anything if I don't know it's going to sound correct. For a couple of positive notes from this, I think that I have quite decent execution. I think I can hit quite nice, long, clean notes. I find that my bends can be quite nice as well. I like where my tone is at the moment, especially when kicking in the overdrive and moving up to the bridge pickup. But that's probably entirely subjective. You may not feel the same, which is totally okay. And I also think that if I find myself in a good position, I'm able to craft quite a nice kind of clear run that has a relatively distinct voice, which I think in certain moments can be quite memorable. But I think this is a good starting point. I think this gives me a lot of information on the places that I can improve. It gives me a bit of an indication of what I need to work on and get under my fingers, hopefully by the time the next one of these jams rolls around. But for now, I think that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this, the first ever Tentpole jam, first of many, I presume. And I hope that it taught you something. I hope there's something in it that you guys can learn from, because after all, that is the whole point. If you guys have noticed anything, if you have any tips, if you have any tricks or anything like that, please do let me know. It really is greatly appreciated, and I can't tell you how much it means to me. But yeah, apart from that, I will see you guys in a bit.